What's happening, YouTube? Yeah, this is Chef here. New Zealand murder history. And check this one out. I got a pretty mad show for you guys today. I'm coming to you from sunny Motueka. So sunny, in fact, I'm hoping I can film this without my camera cutting out. Yeah, this isn't an on-location one. For this story, we're going to be going all the way to Wellington City, which is across the waters there, and well, it's pretty far, really. First, I'm going to show you some photos. Big shout out to all my viewers from the USA. I see on my YouTube analytics you guys really like my show. Thanks for watching. But check this out. So this here is a photo of Wellington Harbour. See those two islands? The big one is Soames Island. It's actually much bigger than that. You can't see most of it in the photo. But that little tiny island with a little splash of greenery on it, that rock, yeah, well, that's Leper Island. See the one up here by my thumb? Leper Island. And I'm going to tell you the story of Leper Island and how it got its name. In the background, I think that's Seatoun and the hills above Seatoun, possibly backing onto Strathmore, but that's not important. We're talking about the harbour right here, Leper Island. Now, in Wellington Harbour, there lived two Taniwha. Ngake the Taniwha, this fella here, and the big blue guy, he's called Whataitai. Whataitai died a long time ago, but Ngake's still there. Anyway, them's the two Taniwha from Wellington Harbour, so they'll become relevant later. Oh, side note, anyone in Motueka looking for some good fish and chips, hit the Happy Chippy. It's mint. I just had a piece of snapper and half a scoop of kumara chips. It was primo. The lady gave me some extra chips, I'm sure. Really was very good. Okay, check out this history lesson then. Kim Lee and Ngake the Taniwha. There's not a lot of information on this one, and I don't know for sure if Kim Lee did talk to the Taniwha in Wellington Harbour, but I like to think that in the desperate, lonely end days of his life, he did. Now, if you don't believe in the Taniwha, that's fine. You don't have to. But the Chinese fruit shop owner, exiled to a lonely, desolate rock in the middle of Wellington Harbour in the year 1903 is fact. Kim Lee came to Wellington, capital city of New Zealand, from China. The year was 1893, first working as a market gardener in the Hutt Valley and perhaps growing a little opium poppy on the side. But hey, nobody's perfect. Yeah, things were good, and Kim Lee was happy in his new homeland full of green forests, rolling hills, and racial hatred. So good, in fact, that in 1895 business was expanding, and Kim Lee moved into Newtown, which is much closer to Wellington City Central, and opened his own fruit shop. From 1895 to 1903, he ran his small fruit shop on Adelaide Road, Newtown. Same street I briefly lived on. Yeah, you're watching New Zealand Murder History Podcast, and my show is not suitable for children. Kids, click off. And my show is just for educational purposes. And also, anyone who's ever been the victim of a hate crime or possibly suffering from some kind of mental condition, also click off and seek support from your GP or call one of the many 0800 numbers available. Yeah, we'll be discussing a hate crime that nobody ever got done for, false imprisonment on a desolate island in the middle of Wellington Harbour, and a little drug use. Well, I see it as a hate crime. I mean, you guys tell me what you think about this whack story. Yeah, anyway. The people of Wellington, they stuck a Chinese bloke on Mokopuna Island. And they sent food over a flying fox. This story is so bizarre, it would be funny if it wasn't true. Information from this one taken from an article, Wellington Chinese History Wiki website, www.wellingtonchinesehistory.fandom.com. Not sure of the date it was written or by who. Article simply called Kim Lee. I found a YouTube video from Roadside Stories, Wellington Harbour's Taniwha Roadside Stories, uploaded August the 10th, 2011, available on www.youtube.com. Also, stuff.co.nz article, Wellington's Leper Island, A Legacy of Racial Hatred, 150 Years of News, written by Andrea O'Neill on September the 1st, 2015, available on www.stuff.co.nz. I also used a website, www.marydictionary.co.nz, plus the Department of Conservation website, Matu/Somes Island Human Quarantine Station, written by Tony Walton and Richard Nestor in May 2001, and that one's available on www.doc.govt.nz. So DOC, D-O-C, means Department of Conservation. But anyway, what was I on about? Oh yes, on Waitangi Day, which is the 6th of February 1895, Kim Lee got a fine for opening his fruit shop in violation of the public holiday. Months later, the Chinese fella got busted smoking opium and was on bail awaiting court proceedings. But this would soon be the least of his worries, because on the 11th of July, 1903, someone reported him to the health department as having leprosy. The stuff.co.nz article says it was a Chinese person who dobbed him in, but I doubt they kept records like that back then. Could have been. Perhaps they had the person's name and they sounded Chinese, I really don't know, but that's what it said on the website. Well, Kim tried to hide when they came for him, but it was no good. He was sent to Somes Island, and his fruit and vegetables were destroyed in an attempt to contain the deadly bacteria. Side note, doctors and scientists have since looked back on this bizarre case and found that Kim Lee was most likely suffering from tuberculosis of the skin, a rare form of the illness, or possibly an autoimmune condition. He simply didn't have leprosy, as no one in New Zealand did at that time. Somes Island was a quarantine island. I've been there years ago. On a school trip it was, yeah. I think it's a bird sanctuary now, or something like that. In 1872, the crew and passengers of a ship called England got quarantined on Somes Island. Because of a smallpox outbreak. But before that, it was used to quarantine sheep and other livestock. Now fast forward to 1903. The other people on Somes Island, so it would have been people who were suffering from TB and, I don't know, other stuff, smallpox like they said before. But the other patients who were quarantined on Somes Island, well, they objected to Kim Lee being sent there. And he was exiled again to the much smaller island called Mokopuna, which means grandchild in Maori. Yeah, perhaps Somes Island is the Grandma Island, I'm not really sure, eh? So after being forsaken to the small rocky island for a while, Kim Lee saw a monster in the sea. But Kim Lee would soon learn that the monster wasn't all that bad. Yeah, bro, I've been here for thousands of years, eh? You know this harbour? It used to be a lake. And I used to kick it in this lake with my bros for tie-dye. All day I would go round and round the lake, catching rainbow trouts, and jumping up out of the water to give the birds a fright. Rah! It was pretty funny, eh? And my bros for tie-dye, he was the lazy Taniwha. He would just sleep all day. That was his best spot out there towards Eastbourne. Yeah, for tie-dye would lie on his back and blow bubbles for hours. Silly Taniwha. Oh, that sounds really nice. What was it like back then? It was really nice, eh? Heaps of wood pigeons, and you could see this big-ass moa walking around out by Moa Point. Silly moa. But I was bored of the lake, eh? So I swam as hard as I could, and I crashed through them hills there. And I made this big-ass channel out to the Pacific Ocean. And my bros for tie-dye, well, he tried to follow me, but his belly was too big, eh? So he got stuck up on the sandbar, you know? It was whack, he was stuck halfway out of the water. So low tide, I would splash water over him with my tail, so he didn't get too hot and dry up and that, you know? But it was no good. Because then came this big, massive earthquake. Lifted it up the land and got rearranged, and my bros for tie-dye, well, he got stuck up on the hill over there. You mean Mount Victoria? Yeah, he couldn't breathe out of the water. And he died and he turned to stone. But then his spirit became a bird, and he flew up onto the top of Mount Vic, and he sung this beautiful waiata, and then he flew up to heaven. I sure miss my bros. But look there, up above Evans Bay. That's where the bros were stuck after the great earthquake. You can see his tail over there, and look, there's his head all turned to stone and that. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't pointed him out. Whai was big fella. Yeah, massive, eh? Silly Taniwha. Hey, you want a fish, bro? I'm mean at catching fish. I'll go get you some hapuku. I never had hapuku. Is it good? Yeah, it's mean as. Ngake the Taniwha came back with 2 hapuku and some cockles. What was it like when you went into this Pacific Ocean? It was pretty choice, eh? I had this mean fight with this big octopus fella. Look, he took heaps of the scales off my left side with his tentacles. Wow, that's some pretty bad scars you got. Yeah, he'll remember me though. I pulled off 2 of his tentacles and I poked out one of his eyes with my tail. Rah! Stupid octopus. He was pretty tough though. Oh, and I hooked up with this mermaid chick down Atlantis. She was sexy as. Where's Atlantis? Well, it's ages away from Wellington. It's kind of hard to explain. Sort of hard to remember how to get. Well, you know, I'm not really supposed to tell. It's a secret. Well, who would I tell anyway? I live in a stupid rock in the middle of Wellington Harbour. Nah, Mokopuna Island isn't stupid. It's those dumb Pākehā fellas who took you out here on that boat and left you to die. It was them who was dumb. What's sad, guys? Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just so sad because times are hard. I miss my Chinese friends and my fruit shop. Cheer up, Kim Lee. I was sad when my friend for tie-dye died. But it's times like this that you gotta get it together the most. How come you split up with your girlfriend, the mermaid? Nah, she only spoke French, bro. That's all they speak in Atlantis. I couldn't understand a word, eh? She would say something like, "Yes, Masati." And I would say, I don't know what you're on about, Frenchie, but I sure like the sound of it, eh? Then she hooked up with her ex-boyfriend, the giant jellyfish. You know me? Well, I sure wasn't going to play second trumpet to no jellyfish. I was out of there, eh? Anyways, I gotta go now. I got heaps of stuff to get done today. Have a good one, Kim Lee. Yeah, you too, Lee Ngake the Taniwha. And thanks for the fish. No worries. Kim Lee never did see his friend Lee Ngake the Taniwha again. He died a lonely death. A lonely death in a lonely cave on a lonely island in the middle of Wellington Harbour. He was pretty tough for a Chinese fruit shop owner though, lasting about 9 months in exile. Yet during this time, the courts in Wellington processed his case for possession of opium poppy and fined Kim Lee. And also during this time, food was sent across a flying fox from Somes Island, sometimes with notes attached, saying to Kim that he should wash himself in the sea to cure his leprosy. Yeah, this was even being reported in some papers back then. It's pretty bizarre. I couldn't find the actual articles though, like the original articles. It was hard to find articles in general. That's why I couldn't find a photo of Kim Lee as well. There's not a lot documented on this one. But yeah, anyway, let's finish it up. Kim Lee, he couldn't pay the fine from the Wellington courts for his dastardly crimes of opium possession. I mean, having been exiled to a small cave on a barren rock in the middle of Wellington Harbour, paying the fine was difficult. Yeah, he's buried out there, and that's why it's called Leper Island, because the people of Wellington decided in all their infinite wisdom that Kim Lee had leprosy. The end. Well, I hope you guys like that one. I mean, it's just bizarre, you know, like saying this Chinese bloke had leprosy and chucking him on an island, sending him food in a flying fox, you know. It's like a, well, it's bad, I guess. And I guess that's all I had to say about that. Have a good one, everybody.